Happy Hump Day, Colts Nation. We're here in week 15, and with it being Wednesday, it's time to talk about the playoffs and what the playoff picture looks like. Because even with the Colts loss and a couple of teams there winning, we ended up still staying in the playoff picture. So if you're looking at it from top to bottom in the AFC right now, at this point, nobody's actually clinched a playoff berth, but you have a couple of teams that are pretty guaranteed to make the playoffs at this point, with the Ravens sitting at 10-3. Sole possession of that number one seed. We've talked about it on this channel. I've talked about it, with friends and family over the weeks. Like the Ravens are the clear best team in the AFC. I don't think that's been a question for a while at this point. So they're probably going to get that bye week, going to stick with the number one seed. Lamar Jackson, real good chance. He's able to at least compete for the MVP this season. Dak Prescott, Brock Purdy, definitely in that conversation. Tyreek Hill also in that conversation with the Dolphins, who right now are at the number 2 seed in the AFC, sitting at 9-4, first in the AFC East. And right now, the Dolphins pretty comfortable there. They still have a 2-game lead over the Bills, even though the Bills were able to beat the Chiefs. So Dolphins, pretty safe bet to still end up winning the AFC East there. Then you have the Chiefs, who right now sit at the number 3 seed, but of course lost to the Bills, and they're now 8-5. And that gets interesting because the Broncos have been on a roll, and they are now at 7-6. They are 1 game behind the Chiefs. So it's going to be important what happens there as we go down the line. You see the Chiefs sitting there in the 3 seed. In the 4 seed is where the AFC South comes in. 8-5 Jaguars, still leading the AFC South. They lost again in week 14, and unfortunately, the Colts just weren't able to pull out the win. Like, if the Colts had been able to win that game and the Jaguars would have lost, right, we'd both be 8-5. The Colts would be sitting in a better position, and the Jaguars would still be in the lead for the division, but the Jaguars in week 15 have to play the Ravens, whereas the Colts are playing the Steelers with Mitchell Trubisky. Okay, so coming out of week 15, if the Colts win, Jaguars lose, we're looking at a situation where the Colts could be in first place of the division, especially with the Texans losing in week 14. Like a big fumble of the bag in week 14 by the Colts, man. Could have put ourselves in a really good position. But right now, 8-5, the Jaguars sitting at the number 4 spot. Number 5 is the Browns, sitting at 8-5 as well. And the Steelers at 7-6, which is why this is a huge game, right? Not only are the Steelers a team that's right above us, right? We have the same record. We need to get above the Steelers and get some comfort room there, because you look at what's happening underneath. The teams that are on the bubble, you have the Texans at 8, 7-6, 9 seed, Broncos 7-6, 10 seed, Bengals 7-6, and they just beat us. Bills 11 seed, 7-6, all the way down to 11. Is 7-6. Okay, then there's a little comfort room for all the 7-6 teams, because then you have Chargers at 5-8, Raiders at 5-8 at 12-13, Jets even at 5-8 at number 14, Titans 5-8 at number 15. This is actually kind of crazy. And then obviously the Patriots at the very bottom of the AFC at 3-10, which is just a beautiful thing to hear and say. But when you look at the Colts, man, and you look at what we have going on, again, we're 7-6. We need to win. Again, the Jacksonville Jaguars, they're playing the Ravens this weekend. So if the Jaguars lose, they go to 8-6. Colts win, we go to 8-6, right? And then you start looking at the other teams, right? The Texans, they end up playing the Titans. And if the Titans are able to win that game, right, the Texans have a lot of players banged up, and they're not a deep team with so many starters out, especially if C.J. Stroud stays in the concussion protocol and he doesn't play. Like, Texans probably don't have a great chance of winning that game, so they could end up falling, which would be huge for the Colts. We need to be able to win. Then you start looking further. The Broncos have to play the Lions. That one could go either way. The Lions been playing worse, but they were one of the best teams in the NFL for a long time. So if they can right the ship, right, the Lions are at home, maybe they can right the ship at home. Broncos didn't play great against the Chargers, so we'll see what happens. But this is one where the Broncos, again, we could get helped out. They could lose this game against the Lions. And then the Bengals, they play the Vikings. The Vikings are going to be starting Nick Mullins. The way both those teams have been playing, I don't see the Bengals losing that game. So they could end up seeing themselves move up quite a bit after week 15. Okay, and then the Bills. another 7-6 team, but they play the Cowboys, who are rolling people right now. And this Cowboys team, for all the Cowboys jokes everybody makes all the time, this Cowboys team seems for real. So Bills have a tough test. They were able to beat the Chiefs, but we talked about before, this Chiefs team doesn't feel like the Chiefs team of old. So don't know how much weight that holds. I think the Cowboys will be able to beat the Bills, honestly. So we could be getting a lot of help from at least the teams underneath us, right? The Texans, Broncos, Bills. Would not be surprised if those teams lost. The Bengals are the wild card here. I think the Bengals are probably going to win their game. And then we play the Steelers, right? That covers all the 7-6 teams right there. So this is a huge game against the Steelers this upcoming week. The Browns play the Bears. I see the Browns being able to win that game. I don't know if the Bears are going to be able to keep up, especially if Flacco is still starting for the Browns, which I would kind of expect. He was sitting there on the Browns practice squad, kind of, mad that we didn't go pick him up. He's been playing pretty well. Thought, hey, maybe if Gardner, something happens to Gardner, like a concussion or anything, maybe we could throw Flacco in there. But Flacco probably going to get the job done, and Brown's probably going to be able to get a win, especially with their defense. So, I mean, what it really comes down to, we have to beat the Steelers, because with the way we're looking at it here, right? If the Bengals win and the Steelers beat us, then you're looking at the Browns having the 5 seed, Steelers having the 6 seed, and the Bengals having the 7 seed, right? And where you saw just not too long ago, there were 3 AFC South teams making the playoffs. All of a sudden, we could see 4 AFC North teams looking like they could be playoff teams if the Steelers are able to beat us. So we can't let that happen. We can't lose to this Steelers team. We just can't. Okay, and we're going to talk more about that. You can already hear me getting revved up. I've been looking into the Colts Steelers history. We're talking about that in just a little while. So make sure you're subscribed with notifications on so you get notified when that video comes out. We're going to do an injury report from today, tomorrow morning. Want you to get notified when that one comes out also. So with that said, I appreciate you stopping by for this video. And as always, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and go Colts.